We were lucky, find a contractor. Oh, why is that? Construction is booming everywhere. The industry can't keep up with the demands. The way the world is now, all of civilization is just burning down. People don't want to go outside. They don't fix up their homes. They want to turn them into fortresses. Now people are moving out of the city. I guess funny how that's happening. It's the fourth turning. Report. Historical events. They don't just happen. They're set into motion by great men, generational personae. Each one of these unleashes a turning that lasts about 20 years, more or less. And every four turnings, it is a secular, the length of a human life. And at the end of each, there's a crisis. In this country, the crisis is always war. Revolution, 80 years later, Civil War. 80 years later, World War II. And that's coming up on 80 years now, so... something's about to happen.
It is Friday, September 27th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 15:35 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Israel. So it looks like Israel has assassinated Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah. The number one leader of Hezbollah has been assassinated by Israel today. So they launched a massive airstrike on Hezbollah's central headquarters in a suburb of Beirut. And so far we have not received 100% confirmation of his death, but U.S. intelligence believes that if Nasrallah was in the building or underneath it during the strikes, he would be dead because of the massive scale of the strikes. Okay, so this is extremely serious. Okay, so this is extremely serious. And Lebanese sources are now reporting that Hashim Safi al-Din, considered the number 2 in Hezbollah behind Hassan Nasrallah, was also killed in the airstrike. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will now be returning to Israel tonight instead of tomorrow, due to the security situation, he's currently in New York City for the UN General Assembly, so he's leaving a day early. And an Israeli official told Israeli Channel 12 that Israel is about to go to war. And after having refused to approve such an operation during at least 2 previous meetings,
Breaking news, this is your World War III Day X update. I'm coming to you from a very degraded makeshift studio setup. This is impromptu. You're just gonna have to deal with it. It's not permanent. I wanted to show you the screen today, so we had to do this. Now, right now we have a massive exodus from the southern part of Lebanon. In the last 24 hours, we're seeing the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people moving towards the north. This number is likely going to swell into the millions in the coming weeks to come as the arc of fire expands deeper into Israel and deeper into Lebanon. The ultimate objective here of the Netanyahu government, who until recently was holed up in their bunker, not because of a war that was being waged, but because of the hundreds of thousands of Israeli protesters in the streets. Well, now all those protesters find themselves conveniently for Netanyahu inside a bunker and under a pseudo low intensity state of martial law, which is only going to intensify. Israel is now in a state of emergency. There's a lot of censorship. There's a media blackout, so we're never really going to know what is happening there. If you are familiar with how the Ukrainian conflict is being reported, well, get used to that now taking place in Israel, and get used to only hearing good news and no bad news. The fog of war is about to get incredibly thick. The censorship right now is through the frickin' roof. We're going to talk more about that in just a minute. Understand what is happening here. Iran, Russia, China are all getting a little bit too powerful, and the West thinks they need to be put in their place. Now, I'm not speaking to this from a place of preference. This is just the reality. This is called Thucydides' trap. If you know that your adversary is getting too powerful, you got to try to cut them down to size before they can get there. This is a pruning. What they're trying to do is to, through Hamas, through Hezbollah, through Yemen, eventually get to Iran. If you can get to Iran, you can get to Russia. If you can get to Russia, you can get to China. That is the ultimate end boss. Now, we need to talk about a message that I received from a subscriber who is in Russia. You guys know, all you NAFO OSENT sleuths understand that I have Russian handlers. Well, my Russian handler sent me this, okay? Apparently now, on the backs of their utility bills, I think this is not all Russian oblasts, but the ones most proximate to the conflict, they are now receiving on the backs of their utility bills emergency instructions on what to do in case of a nuclear event, water bill, or your power bill. And on the written instructions, you can essentially get the single person, right? Not everybody is going to pay attention to the TV or listen to. I've taken the liberty, what do you call it, a photo translator. And so it's not a perfect one-to-one translation because the images they sent me.
Get out of the banks, real estate, and get out of the dollar run for your lives. The US dollar is trash. It is literal dog crap here in the United States, and it is now eradicating you and the entire middle class. But again, you can get on the right side of history here. This is why
Rania, we just watched a neighborhood in Beirut be blown up. How are you?
I'm okay. It's been a really tough week and a half because for the last week and a half, the Israelis have been carrying out one terrorist attack after another against Lebanon. And we saw earlier this week, they killed over 500 people in 24 hours. They've been just indiscriminately carpet bombing the south of Lebanon. And now they've been carpet bombing areas of South Beirut. And it's terrifying to watch because every escalation scares me. I don't know if I want to be able to go home. I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about my friends. I'm in touch with them all the time and they're terrified. There's displaced people everywhere and we're constantly trying to find them places to stay. And you know, People have watched Gaza be genocided for 12 months, and now it's spreading to Lebanon, and it's really scary. It's been psychological terror for the Lebanese because Israel keeps promising to turn Lebanon into Gaza, and now they're starting to do that.
Well, what do we need to know about Lebanon? Because we know a lot about Palestine, and we know we have to be on a learning curve about it because we're lied to all the time. Where do you see the lies about Lebanon that are helping to drive this?
So what the Israelis are saying is that they are just defending themselves. They're always just defending themselves against what they call a terrorist group, which is Hezbollah, and that Hezbollah is firing at them unprovoked, and they have no choice but to go in and destroy Hezbollah, which they say is hiding in every single kitchen and basement and bedroom of every Lebanese civilian. It's the same talking points we saw on Gaza, which is why it's scary, because they are bombing people's homes while they're in them. What's important to understand about Lebanon is that Hezbollah is a political party. Yes, the US and Europe and Israel call Hezbollah a terrorist organization. This is not the world. The majority of the world recognizes Hezbollah as a political party, and they are actually elected democratically by Lebanese people to serve in the Lebanese parliament. In fact, they serve in the largest parliamentary bloc in Lebanon's parliament. And they also have a military wing. That military wing was formed in the mid-1980s in response to Israel's vicious and brutal invasion, occupation, and massacres across Lebanon. Hezbollah literally formed its Lebanese people in South Lebanon that came together to defend their homes and to defend their land against Israel. That's where Hezbollah comes from. And in the year 2000, after 15 years of brutal Israeli military occupation, just like we see in Palestine, Hezbollah managed to liberate Lebanese land and kick the Israelis out. And there was a war again in 2006. Hezbollah also kicked the Israelis out. And since then, the Israelis haven't even dared to invade Lebanon again because Hezbollah has acted as a military force protecting Lebanon's border. And that's how many Lebanese people see them. And now, since October 7, in response to Israel's genocide in Gaza, Hezbollah has been firing at Israel in solidarity with the people of Gaza. But there has been many cross-border attacks between the Israelis and Hezbollah, and this time, 80% have come from Israel at Lebanon. So this is a tit for tat. It's a two-way fight with the majority of violence coming from Israel, not Hezbollah. I'll also add that Hezbollah has been hitting military installations on the Israeli side, while Israel has been intentionally targeting civilians because that's their military doctrine. And what's really important to understand is that the longer this escalation in Lebanon continues, the more likely we're going to see a regional war. This is incredibly dangerous, and we all have to tell our elected leaders to stop arming Israel, or the region's going to explode into some sort of apocalypse.